Hey guys, welcome to Quinnia's Budget Crafts. Time to do some details on this thing. I'm not looking to dump a whole bottle of paint on this, so the first thing you do is go outside and spray it with some gray primer. You can do the bottom too if you want. So there is a little bit of an overhang on the front. That's actually perfectly normal, so you can ignore that. The one on the side though, we're going to have to fix that. First thing though, we got to paint this. Okay, we're going to use some pewter gray, some granite gray, some dolphin gray. When we paint these on, it'll be similar to doing a dry brush, but not quite. For the large areas, just go ahead and use a chip brush. This one is 2 inches, but you could use a smaller one if you wanted. I like the chip brush because the bristles are super uneven. I'm not trying to get full coverage here, I'm just sort of swiping back and forth here and there. Kind of how camo paint jobs look, I guess, where the colors just sort of fade into each other. So go ahead and do your pewter gray first. Do that all over all 3 pieces. Then use your granite gray and very lightly go over the surface. Again, not 100%, just kind of here and there. Don't forget about your crenellations and the spaces in between them. And then use your dolphin gray to sort of highlight all the scratches and divots. Just sort of swipe it at an angle. Don't worry about cleaning the brush or the paper towel in between these, they'll blend together just fine. And now with a super light touch, go through with some antique white and use that to highlight a few spots here and there. When you get to the crenellations, turn your brush sideways and swipe it down, like a quick swipe. That'll get you the sort of streaky, lighter streak things that are on the side of stone buildings. You don't have to do every single one, just kind of go through and, make it random, make it look natural. Once that is 100% dry, get your black wash. We're using the same stuff we always use, the green, black, and brown. And you can use a brush to kind of put it in wherever the holes are to make them really stand out. You could also paint it on the whole thing like this, but that's a little bit too much wash. So a better idea is grab a spray bottle, spray it down, and then go back through with a paper towel and blot off the excess. You don't have to blot off 100% of it. You're trying to make this as random and splotchy as possible. Same with the paints. You can then take a brush and then basically squeeze it out in a few spots to make it run down the side. Now once that's dry, if the black wash has taken off too much of your detail, you can add some more back, but we're going to do a whole lot more, so I don't think you really need to. I started out using Kelly green here to highlight the broken bits and inside the holes and stuff. The more I use it, the more I realize that looked kind of radioactive, at least in person, if not on camera. So I switched that to English ivy. So just take a couple of brushfuls of water and mix it with your ivy, and then put it anywhere stuff's broken, basically. Get all the little cracks, all the scratches, the broken corners. Anywhere the rubble's sitting is a good spot. And you can do a few streaks of it too if you want to. We are going to flock this, so this is mostly just like an undercoating. Speaking of flock, we're going to use some of that Luke's APS Mid-Green Fine 2-in-1. This stuff is great. With a little bit of 50/50 Mod Podge and water. Still using a brush you don't care about, go ahead and paint down the 50/50 wherever it is you think mold and moss and stuff would accumulate. And then just dump the flock on like crazy. I mean, there's no real set method here, just pour it on. Any excess, dump it into the next area. Pretty much anywhere you think it would accumulate, running down the stairs, anywhere there's like a large crack, holes, that kind of stuff. Don't forget to do the outside of the building too. You can pretty much just put your Mod Podge on, grab a handful of the flocking from your mat, and just rub it across the surface. Wherever it sticks, great. Wherever it falls, that's fine. You can add more. When you're all done, shake it all off and pack it back up for the next use. Once your Mod Podge has dried pretty well, you can take this outside and spray it down with a clear coat. I got a little heavy-handed with my clear coat and melted some of the foam. That's actually okay. It adds a lot of detail, but you do need to go back and put some black wash wherever you melted it. Alright, so for these little platforms with the stairs and stuff, go ahead and measure the inside length of the wall there. And if you're measuring like I am, keep in mind you're measuring from the end of the ruler, not the 0 line. Then you're going to need a couple of sticks to put your boardwalk thing on. I'm just using the smallest ones from this dowel pack. Go ahead and put a mark on them and saw them off. For the actual boardwalk plank things here, I'm going to use coffee stir sticks. I want them about 2 inches wide, and I tried to be exact at first and then realized I don't really need to be exact, so cut a bunch of them off roughly 2 inches. Best way to do that is to just put a ruler on them, run your X-Acto across a couple times to score them real good, and then you can pick them up and just snap them off. Super simple. So go ahead and lay out all of your sticks nice and flat up against each other. This is pretty fiddly, but it's worth it in the end. Use something flat, like your ruler, to push them all together so they're basically straight at least on one edge. Put some hot glue all the way down one of your sticks, and then when you put it on there, put the corner on the edge first, and then roll the stick onto it so when you squeeze out, it squirts out into the middle. Do the same thing with the other one, then pick one side to cut off nice and clean. Go ahead and put more hot glue on the inside to make sure every single one of these is stuck to the railing piece underneath it. You can use some little pliers here to break off the excess ones sticking out to give you that torn up look. Obviously, if you were making a nice one, you would trim these off neatly. If you want holes and stuff in the middle of it, that's real simple. Just take something hard like the pointy end of these steel pliers and start stabbing it. How much damage you do is up to you. I wanted this to still be usable to put minis and stuff on, so I just put a couple just to give you the idea that it's got damage, but it's not actually broken and falling apart. And we're going to need a second one for that other side there, so just go ahead and make that a few inches long. I'm not sure what I did wrong, but it came out really wonky, so just put it on the line and use your saw and trim it off nice and straight so it fits against the wall flat. There we go. Now go ahead and put it up there and draw your line. Glue the entire thing on the underside, all of it, because when you start breaking this, some of those aren't going to have any supports. Just use your little pliers there to snap them off. Then use the side cutters, kind of like pliers. You're not really trying to cut into it. You just need a sharp thing to grab it and break the sticks off. The support sticks underneath. Same thing. Go ahead and trim one edge nice and flat if you need to and stab a bunch of holes in it. All those pieces you broke off, keep those because we're going to use those for some detail too. Alright, so now we need some legs. I just used the next size dowel up. I'm not sure what size these are. They're just a little bit bigger. You could of course use round dowels for posts if you wanted to, but I kind of like these square ones. This thing fits in here so well, I don't even need legs. But get it in there somehow, it's going to work for you so you can measure off your stick there. Make a mark below the support. And then cut your 2 square dowels down at that length all the way down. It's pretty much 1 3/4 inches, but that's not exact. Definitely measure for your build. Cut all of both sticks down to that size. You will need every single one of these. To glue these on, just put a little bit of hot glue on the corner there and put your stick on. Just make sure that you match the outside corners. Doesn't matter if it hangs over on the inside, but you need the outside to match so it'll fit flat against your walls. If you're a little worried about these not being secure, you can add some more hot glue around the inside. Now it's not going to fit there because the pile of rubble is in the way of the leg. So go ahead and chop a little chunk off. Same method, squeeze and break. I ended up doing this twice. That's totally fine, just make sure you keep those chunks, we're going to use those too. Go ahead and glue the legs to the long one. Now for the stairs, there's a couple ways you could do it. The simple way is to use a bunch of these little dollar store Jenga blocks. You just stack them up like that. I mean, that totally works. But it also looks kind of strange considering that the other thing is built out of a ton of individual little sticks. So instead, let's cut some stringers. Do you know how to cut stringers? Me either, but we're going to figure this out. So go ahead and take a large popsicle stick, one of the jumbo extra wide ones. Cut one end off at 45 degrees. Hold it up to your platform there and mark where the top of the platform meets the top of the stick. You can either try to measure it straight from the platform or just use that mark as a reference to cut it at 45 degrees again. Once you have that, go ahead and put that on your mat so you can see what you're doing. And then make another mark every ½ inch all the way down the thing. Those marks need to come halfway into the stick, and then the bottom of each mark connects to the top of the next one in front of it, making a spiky V mountain shaped thing. Then cut out the little mountain triangle things. Be very careful here, these sticks fall apart pretty easy. You have to make a whole bunch of cuts real light. Don't push super hard or you'll split it. Once you've done it a few times and you get yourself a master copy, go ahead and coat that master copy in liquid superglue. If you've got some spray-on activator, this would be a great time to use it. Otherwise, let it sit under a fan to dry for about an hour. You'll also need a version of these things for the inside, where the top goes down to the floor below it. It only needs to be 2 steps though. So figure out which 2 steps you want to use. I use the top 2 steps. And then cut out 4 of the short ones and 4 of the regular ones. For the actual steps on these things, take 4 of the coffee stir sticks and glue them together. You're also going to need 4 of those. And then cut them off at whatever width you measured for your stairs. I think mine's about 1½ inches, something like that. To glue those sticks together, what works best is to just hold them down and then run hot glue over them, then run the nozzle over the glue to smooth it out. Once those are all made and cut out, go ahead and glue them to your stringers. Just glue on the top and bottom step first so that you can make sure that the whole thing is nice and straight and square and all that good stuff. And then fill in the middle 2. Real simple, just a little bit of glue where the step goes and drop it down. Again, if you don't think these are strong enough, you can always put as much glue as you want to on the underside. Just use your thumbnail to go ahead and scrape off any squeeze out. And set those aside. Now we got to make some doors. Sticking with the coffee stir sticks, I'm lazy, so I want to do all of these at once. So lay down a whole bunch of stir sticks, about as many as a stir stick is long. Run a line of hot glue across it and put a stir stick on there. Measure 2 inches from the end of that. Put another stir stick down just off your line. Measure 2 inches off of that line. Put more stir sticks. Basically, you're making 2 rows of doors. And it really doesn't matter how messy you make this. Then just put your ruler down and cut them apart. To figure out how wide to make your door panels, you could measure it, or just use my patented hold the thing up to it and make a mark. For this one back here, it looks like where that gap is anyway, so just go ahead and snip the support stick off the back. Count out how many it is until the middle stick, and then cut that right in half. Flip it over and snip the support sticks on the back, and then the whole thing should just come apart. Now you've got 2 doors for that section. Do that for all 3 doors. Okay, so the back side looks terrible, and we want to make these look pretty decent. So go ahead and put them down, and then run a line of super glue across where you want some support beams, and just drop a stir stick on there. You can leave it long for now, we'll trim it in a second. There's no real set measurement here. I went about a ½ inch down from each end of it. I realize that 2 inches is not going to fit in all the doors, but it won't matter because they're not going to be in their door frame. So just put them on the mat in between a couple of the inch marks there and use the ½ inch dots as your guide. Also make sure to super glue yourself to this thing at least once. Once the glue is dry, you can go ahead and use some flush cutters or whatever you like to snip off the excess. They're looking pretty nice, but they need something else. So we'll take some of these gems I've mentioned before. You can find those on my webpage through an affiliate link that I have listed below. We'll use some of these large gold domes to make rivet heads. Pretty simple, just go ahead and lay down a line of super glue across the top of your support beam thing there. And drop one of these dots down about every other board or so. The spacing's up to you. That looked pretty good to me though. Helps a whole lot if you use the tweezers that actually come with these little gem things, and then something else that the super glue is not going to stick to a whole lot. Basically, don't use your fingers. Just go ahead and get those put on every single door. And then if you got way too much super glue on there, you can take some compressed air and very gently blow the extra super glue off from around the stud things. Then of course you can go through with the baking soda and make sure all that stuff is nice and solid, and then take your canned air and blow off any excess. Now that we went through all the trouble of making 6 nice doors, we're going to destroy them. Same method as with the platform things, just put them down in between something so there's a little gap under there and start stabbing them with your pliers. Grab a piece and break it. It's up to you how you want to destroy these. I was trying to get something kind of similar to maybe the damage a battering ram or too many hits with an axe would have caused. But once you're all done with that, you go ahead and take all your wooden pieces, mix up some nutmeg and Mod Podge, and then paint everything. Make sure you get all the little broken pieces painted too. And the ones that fell off and just laying there, you can kind of stick those to the doors or whatever you want just to include them in there. Once that's dry, go ahead and do some dry brushing with a tan and a yellow. This time I'm using light mocha and golden sunset. And then it's time to glue everything in. The one longer boardwalk looking thing, it fits so tight. There is no way this thing is coming out unless somebody purposely pulls it out. So I don't even need to glue that. For the stairs, just put some glue on the edge that's going to be touching the wall and stick it right on. For the smaller platform, obviously it's not going to fit that well because it's broken and small. So glue along the top edge and the outside edge of the uprights, and that way you can stick the whole thing to the wall. Same method for those stairs, just glue on the side and stick it on. The pieces you broke off of the short one, find a good spot to stick them by the rubble and just put some glue on the back and stick them down. Nothing super scientific here. For the rivets on the door, if you did want them to be shiny metal again, you could paint them with paint or whatever. Take a silver Sharpie to them, that works pretty good too. When you go to glue those down, just pretty much cover the whole backside of it with glue and stick them wherever it is you're going to put them. Because everything in here is so uneven, it's really hard to figure out where exactly to glue. This one for in the hallway, just along the one edge and the bottom is good to put it to where it just got pushed open basically. I want to put this other one in the hallway, but I don't want it in the way, so I'm going to break it in half and then glue that to the wall. And those big ones, just find a good spot for them, cover the back in glue, and stick them down. So the map shows like a tree or something growing in this front right corner, but I don't want to do that, so I'll just lean the door up against this piece of rubble. For those stairs that go in the upper portion, it's just like the ones downstairs. You just glue it to the inside of the wall there. And there is a little gap between the stairs and like the hole's too big for the stair or something. That's actually pretty standard for stairs. I don't know why. But anyway, it'll be fine. Alright, so I promised you guys we would hide this overhang thing going on the side. And this is how we do it. Take a bunch of Spanish moss and lichen from the dollar store. Coat a whole bunch of Mod Podge where you want its stuff to stick so it hangs from one side to the other. And just stick it on, basically. It's kind of a pain. It doesn't really want to stay. You got to use a lot of glue. And it definitely works better if you stand this up on its edge instead of just leaning. So let me adjust the camera angle and see if I can get that. Alright, so standing up on edge, just put your glue down and then put the stuff on. And then after you've gotten your stuff all stuck how you want it to, go over with 50-50 Mod Podge and water and cover everything and smush it down as best you can. You can put a little bit more flocking on there if you want to. And then use some scissors and run along your seams and cut all the stuff that's connecting the top to the bottom. Once you get that all the way around all 4 sides, you can go ahead and bring some of it up over the top. So like it started growing on the top of the wall and draped its way down, or vice versa. You can do a little bit where the floor caved in, so it's kind of hanging into the inside. Kind of how we did on the fountain video, actually. And then very carefully separate your things and ensure that you really did cut in between all of them. So I got it stuck here and it almost pulled it off the bottom just because of one strand. Take you some more Mod Podge and water and drip it all over the place. Take all the crumblies that fell off while you were doing this, it's like dust almost, and sprinkle that everywhere. And then of course do some more flocking while you're at it. Want to make sure that you get the moss and whatnot on the wood pieces that you just put in. It'd be kind of strange if it were only on the stone. If that's too much, you can go ahead and dump out the excess if you want to. I kind of like that, so just go through with some spray coat or maybe some more 50-50 and just kind of drench everything basically. Of course, stuff still will fall off. That's okay, just wait for this to dry and then flip it over, shake off the excess, and then scoop all of it into a little bin you can use for the next project that's been overgrown. It also really helps to have one of these little miniature fans. $5 at Walmart. And if you're a crafter with a sticker, let me know. I collect stickers. So anyway, it's still not dry yet, but I gotta get a video out to you guys. Looks like nature has reclaimed this place. You can reveal parts of it as you go, so you just lift out the front part, and then the back as your minis make their way through. And of course, minis can still use the stairs for the most part. There's just a ton of room for setups in here. You can really do whatever you want using scatter terrain and stuff. I'll have some nice action shots of it up on Twitter once this is dry, so if you want to see those, make sure you follow me there. Otherwise, you can support the channel on Patreon and Ko-fi. But thank you for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like, share, and all that good stuff, and I'll catch you on the next one.